Support for NPR comes from Cancer Treatment Centers of America, where treatment options include targeted therapies guided by genomic testing and immunotherapies that use the body's immune system to help fight the cancer. More at cancercenter.com.
Welcome to the small batch edition of Pop Culture Happy Hour. I'm Linda Holmes. I'm the editor of NPR's pop culture and entertainment blog, Monkey See, and I'm here in the studio with Stephen Thompson of NPR Music. Hi, Stephen.
Hello, Linda.
Well, Monday night was the Grammy Awards show, and let's knock out some of the big news. Uptown Funk was Record of the Year. Ed Sheeran's Thinking Out Loud was Song of the Year. That's the one that goes to the songwriting itself. And perhaps most controversially, according to my Twitter feed, which I consider to be the arbiter of all controversy, Taylor Swift's 1989 was named Album of the Year over, among others, Kendrick Lamar's To Pimp a Butterfly. Now, Stephen, you talked a couple of years ago about your expectation that Kendrick Lamar, after being swept that year by Macklemore, would get his Grammy night before long. How did you feel about how things went for him out there?
I think on balance, it was a successful night. I was not surprised that he lost Album of the Year to Taylor Swift. It was controversial. I think it was more or less expected that he would absolutely dominate in the hip-hop categories as he did, but not necessarily win that big prize, even though I think few people we know would necessarily argue that somehow 1989 was like a more towering accomplishment.
Yeah, I have a weird feeling like Album of the Year often goes to something sort of agreeable. And I think that Taylor Swift and Kendrick Lamar, it's safe to say, this sounds like a joke, but I'm serious, they're doing very different things.
You might say.
I don't mean that to be that kind of like humorous understatement. I just mean he is obviously trying to be provocative and thoughtful in a way that I think she's trying to do pleasing pop music. And I think those are both valid things to do with music, but I feel like Album of the Year in particular has a way of being kind of like, oh, that, sure.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you remember when Beck's Morning Phase won Album of the Year, and that's like a very somber, pretty, quiet record, beat out Beyonce, which was just a record that people are going to remember and go back to, I think, for far longer.
Right. Another thing about Kendrick Lamar is on top of what awards were won or lost, he had this very electrifying performance that was staged in this really interesting way. And it's one of those things where when you see a Grammys performance and you're like, oh, there's fire, there's dancers, it kind of feels like, woohoo, the Grammys.
Yeah, and none of that flash was designed to cover up anything. I think that's part, like, it only enhanced what was going on. He did, it was a medley of 3 songs. He did The Black or the Berry and All Right from To Pimp a Butterfly, and then worked into a new song. I felt like he won the night from that standpoint. As people walked away, whether he won Album of the Year or not, people walked away like, holy cow, that was a performance.
And it was very interesting to me that they put that performance in the show directly after
the other best thing that happened.
This very unusual, I can't remember ever seeing a prominent placement of a Broadway number at the Grammys. I could be wrong about that, but they went to Broadway, to the Richard Rodgers Theater, to show a performance of the opening number of Hamilton.
There would have been nothing left to do for someone less astute. He would have been dead or destitute without a sense of restitution. Started working for his late mother's landlord. Bleeding sugar cane and rum and all the things he can't afford. Spending for every book he can get his hands on. Planning for the future, see him now as he stands on the bow of a ship, headed for a new land. In New York, you can be a new man.
I don't think that's surprising. That record has been so dominant, and I think it's a show that has been introduced to a lot of people through the cast album.
Yeah.
At the same time, it was so unusual and so interesting, and to me, to take this hip-hop musical, which feels like it's very much straddling different worlds in the Grammys, and put it right next to this Kendrick Lamar performance that's so awesomely interesting, I thought was really, that made for a 15 or 20 minute stretch that all of a sudden felt not like the Grammys often feel. It felt vital.
And they kind of ping-ponged back and forth. You had the Hamilton performance, and you're like, who the heck is going to be able to follow that Hamilton performance? Boom, Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah.
And then who's going to be able to follow that Kendrick Lamar? And then they go right back to giving the award to Hamilton. Lin-Manuel Miranda, the composer of all these wonderful, and performer in Hamilton, who was so wonderful, gives this spectacular speech, one of the most disarming, charming, rhyming.
Yeah, not dissimilar from a Tony's speech he also gave a while ago. But yeah, oh gosh, I could just watch him all the time.
We write music, we write songs to tell a story, whether you're King, Kendrick, or Janine Tesori. I'm sorry if I start screaming these things hysterically. John Bazzetti, Tim Latham, Tom Coyne, and Derek Lee. Tommy Cale set the stage to kick our boots through. Bill Sherman, Quest, and Tariq, the whole Roots crew. Sean at Warner Chapel, Riggs and Craig at Atlantic. Blackamore, my right-hand man, this frantic Hispanic is non-stop. The best idea goes in the pot. Whether you're Harnick and Bach, Pun, Biggie, or Pac, the cast, unstoppable. Band is unbeatable, inimitable, inevitable, always inspiring me to pull through. Vanessa, Angie, Illy, Ellie, we adore you. Sebastian, Daddy's bringing home a Grammy for you. Good night.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the other performances, including a couple of tributes that they did. I felt like it was a heavy night for tributes.
A lot of major musicians died in the last year.
Yeah, and so I think one of the ones that got the most attention was Lady Gaga doing a David Bowie medley.
Right.
How did you feel about the David Bowie medley?
I was really ambivalent about it. She's such a gifted performer. There were some beautiful visual effects in that.
Particularly at the beginning.
Particularly at the beginning. But my prevailing emotions, first of all, is I'm certainly not over David Bowie's death, so I'm still just sad.
Right.
So I'm not necessarily ready to be dazzled by a show-stopping David Bowie medley by someone other than the reincarnation of David Bowie.
Yeah.
And I also just felt like it ran through so many songs that it was hard to latch onto any of it as an emotional crescendo. Had she stuck with Heroes or something and just brought that, I think it would have been better served. But it's hard for me to deny that it was a powerful performance. It just didn't necessarily hit hard with me.
I would have also liked a full performance of one song or maybe a medley of two songs. The way they did it with the little snippets is very representative of kind of how David Bowie's career was.
Sure.
But at the same time, it did make it difficult, I think, for any one of those things to register. And another performance that I want to talk about, speaking of things that maybe didn't so much register with me, is that the Lemmy/Motorhead tribute was, which that part is not funny. We're not laughing at that.
Of course.
But, okay, so Alice Cooper
right.
and Joe Perry, who I always have to remind myself, which one is Joe Perry? Joe Perry and from Aerosmith and Alice Cooper come out with Johnny Depp in this band that is called the Hollywood Vampires.
Which is just the most
Motorhead
Johnny
thing.
Depp band name ever.
So here's the thing. Here's what I was thinking. I have no idea how this came together. I have no idea what the sequence is. But there is part of me that is envisioning being Alice Cooper and having them come and be like, look, we want you to come to the Grammys and just for this brief moment, just be rock and roll. Just be a rock band for these brief moments. We want you to just serve it to the Grammys and being like, can I bring Johnny Depp? That's the least rock and roll thing I can imagine anyone doing.
I found that performance so silly that it was really, really hard to actually be aggravated by it.
I wasn't aggravated. I wasn't bothered. It just seemed, I don't know. It was a very strange thing. Okay, I want to knock out some other ones.
Sure.
Ellie Goulding and Andra Day.
Andra Day is so good.
There's a tiny desk.
There is a tiny desk with her. She is going to win armloads of Grammys in her career. She's awesome.
They were great. The Lionel Richie tribute, which I will steal my own joke from Twitter, which was, it seemed to me like the group of people, if the Grammys had a version of Speed, the group of randos that would be on the bus in Speed. It was Demi Lovato.
Luke Bryan singing Penny Lover.
Tyrese Gibson.
Yep.
John Legend. John Legend. There were a couple other people, too. And I just thought, this is just this kind of sure.
I'm going to steal my joke on Twitter and say that it was exactly like a results show on American Idol during Lionel Richie week. When they have all the American Idol contestants take a turn. Now Bo Bice is going to sing.
Yeah. A lot of mixed feelings about the Stevie Wonder Pentatonics, Maurice White from Earth, Wind & Fire tribute.
We've come together on this special day. This message loud and clear. Sing it loud and clear. Looking back, we touch on sorrow days. Future past, they disappear. You will find.
I think some people felt like that was a good one, and other people felt like compared to the other tributes, it felt a little pulled together.
I think people felt like, where are the horns?
Yeah.
You got all these horn sections in the room. I liked it.
I liked it too, but I'm an acapella person.
You're an acapella person. I think if you're going to check out acapella, listen to Pentatonic.
No, I agree. Jackson Browne with the Eagles did the tribute to Glenn Frey, which I thought was nice.
Sure, and a lovely B.B. King thing with Bonnie Raitt, Gary Clark Jr., and Chris Stapleton.
Yeah.
3 people very well served by the Grammys, but who are also great.
Well, and to me, I'm never sorry when you get to be reminded that Bonnie Raitt is a really, really good guitarist.
Oh, my God.
Among other things, because she sort of went through that lovely late stage period where she was doing kind of ballads and
including some amazing ballads.
Absolutely, but was becoming kind of a pop singer.
Yeah, like an adult contemporary
and
artist.
To see that, to be reminded that she's also like a great
amazing
kind of bluesy guitarist was a very nice thing. Alabama Shakes performed.
Yep.
I know you're a Alabama Shakes.
Oh, my God, and especially live.
And also Adele, who had a bit of a rough night, it seemed like. Clearly some technical issues with the mics and stuff, but also her voice sounded tired to me.
Yeah, I would diagnose it as she had technical issues that fed into voice and performance
And
issues.
she's had those kind of periods of vocal rest and issues with her voice, and I just hope that whatever she needs to take care of her voice, she's
got a year before she dominates the Grammys in 2017.
No, it's true. It's true. And it's interesting because there are all these performances, so many to go through. And then there are also a couple that were supposed to happen and didn't.
Right. In a way, that was one of the most disappointing things about the ceremony was Rihanna was supposed to perform and was ill. Lauryn Hill was supposed to join that performance by the weekend, which I think would have made it so much more interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, anytime you add Lauryn Hill to something that's going to draw attention.
Sure.
There were rumors like she was just late.
There were rumors about, I think it's very hard to know exactly what happened there, but
exactly.
It didn't happen.
There were so many musicians, major musicians died in the last year that they really weren't able to fully pay tribute to Natalie Cole. I know there were people who were very angry about that, given that she has won armloads of Grammys in her career.
Right. It was a very tribute-heavy night, and I think the other thing is because of those tributes, there weren't as many opportunities to have the things that were just for fun, as there sometimes are. But on the whole, some really strong performances. That Hamilton and Kendrick Lamar period is by far my favorite 15, 20 minutes of the Grammys ever.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So I think from that perspective, it's a successful night. Well, we talked in more general terms about the Grammy Awards on last week's Pop Culture Happy Hour, so if this is an area of interest, make sure you check that out. Full episodes are available every Friday from iTunes or wherever you get podcasts or at npr.org. Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you.